Whoa, we're actually having another weekly episodic podcast, and I feel like it's been forever. But if you've
Forever.
seen on video, and as you heard from his little chuckle, the prodigal one is back. The formerly bald beast, Jalen Johnson, little co-host, makes his return to the show. Welcome back, Jalen. It feels like
Yes.
years.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks. It does feel like it's been a very long time, but it's only been like 2 or 3 weeks. But with all the shows we released, it feels like it's been forever.
I mean, thank you for alluding to that because we have always gone to crap ton of stuff done, whether it be our weekly NFL breakdowns, whether it be our bunch of interviews that we've been releasing. Most recent one, UFC fighter, Guitar Hero Justin James, with a story that is straight from a movie. You guys have been loving that one, but for those that haven't seen it, you need to check it out. Everything will be linked. You can also just go to our fantastic website, www.thefourthlong.com, which actually, by the way, has received a facelift because I've been making some upgrades to that over the past couple days.
Looks a
So,
lot better.
thank you, Jalen. We've just been doing a bunch of stuff, but today, what we got for you guys, we're going to talk about quarterbacks. Who's better between a couple of these pairs? Talking two second-year quarterbacks, or second and third-year quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. Then we got the
Mhm.
rookies of Burrow, Tua, and Herbert. Then it's time to break down the NFL season since we are midway through. Let's take a look at a bunch of things, whether it be biggest surprises, biggest upsets, biggest disappointments. We'll get into that. A little NCAAF action for you guys today. The case for an 8-team playoff. NBA, Russell Wilson, or I'm sorry, Russell Westbrook. It's all in the NFL kind of mindset with that one. CP3. Also, some new jerseys. Who has the best one? We got some MLB, new managers, end of season awards. And UFC Vegas 14 is right on the horizon. We'll talk that for you guys. See, we got a little bit on the agenda today, so it's going to be a fun one. But, Jalen, we're going to start things off with this question.
All right.
Who would you rather build your team around right now? Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson?
I mean, this one's kind of unfair because my team's already building around this quarterback, Kyler Murray. I love Lamar Jackson. He is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league right now. But right now, the offense that he is playing in is starting to get really predictable. Which last week in an interview, he even said defenses are lining up and calling out their plays.
That's
They're
bad.
lining. They're lining up and just yelling, "Hey!" They're running dive. Hey, they're running a read option to the right. Hey, like so it's getting predictable. I think Lamar's been doing a good job still keeping the Ravens in with his spectacular ability and his ability to run and his ability to throw, which people do undermine a lot. But he gets it done. He's still winning games. They're still a winning team right now. But when you look at it right now in the season, Kyler Murray's putting together right now. At the rate he is going, he has put together a better season than Lamar Jackson had so far in his breakout MVP season. And he's been very underappreciated so far throughout this season. And I think it's been a beautiful season for him so far.
Do you
And
think
I
it's
think
because he
after,
plays for the Cardinals?
yeah,
Who
he
cares
plays for
about
the
them,
Cardinals.
right? There's
Yeah,
some team that
he
does
plays for
it.
the Cardinals, and I feel like a lot of experts, quotation marks for people who aren't viewing the video, they said that the Cardinals were going to be like 5-11 this season, and the Cardinals at this point in the season are 5-3. So I think a lot of people aren't trying to talk about them because they don't want to admit the mistake of because right when everybody came out and said, "Hey." Because right when the season ended, Kyler Murray was one of the first people on the list,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was like third or fourth place for highest odds to win MVP. And everybody was like overrated, this and that. Kyler Murray's been exceptional this season, and the second half of the season, I feel like he's going to kick into a second gear just to put up even more for what he hasn't been able to do with his defense.
It's really hard to say right now because, of course, they're two very similar quarterbacks. Both of them
Mm-hmm.
had a well, in terms of their second season, at least they've both been having. I mean, Lamar Jackson won the MVP in his second NFL season. Kyler Murray, if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and a couple other people, he would be. He's already in talks for MVP. He would be even higher up on there. Where it comes into play with the differences, Kyler Murray definitely had a better first year than Lamar Jackson did. It helped that he was also actually starting all games. And then at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's going to be big what we're going to see in the third season because Lamar Jackson had that MVP season. Then he's dropped off and he hasn't been as good this year. He's still good, but not nearly as good. Is that going to happen for Kyler Murray? I don't know. We'll find out soon. But as of right now, since he's a little more proven, I will take Lamar Jackson because we're going off of who you'd rather build around right now. But that could very well change next season. But with that being said, let's move on into our rookie quarterbacks now. The 2020 draft class was phenomenal. And honestly, it feels like another thing, Jalen, that feels like forever ago. We actually live streamed this, and we had a really good time with that. One of our live streams. I know I was on fire that second round, so that was really cool. Really pissed you off.
Second round was crazy. You should go back and watch that if you haven't seen.
I think like 10 right or something stupid. It was,
yeah, he got like 10 picks in a row right. That was crazy.
Yeah, I wish I can go back to that because I was just like 200 IQ, and now that's just never going to happen again. But the three quarterbacks that we have are Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, and Justin Herbert. Out of these three, which is going to be the best quarterback out of this draft class? And I'll tell you right now, Jalen, it is going to be Joe Burrow. I mean, it's hard. It really is. But to be honest, it's really close between Burrow and Herbert. They're two very, very talented quarterbacks on two very, very
subpar teams.
I'll say disappointing teams. I think that's a little more.
Bengals aren't really disappointing. I kind of expected this from the Bengals.
That's a good point right there. Chargers is very disappointing. The Bengals are doing better than anticipated, at least, and that's all thanks to Joe Cool. I just love his pocket presence. He seems so calm and collected on that field. He has a really good way of reading it. Underrated athletic ability outside the pocket. And he's just been a really, really good pocket passer. And he is it's no surprise that he ended up being able to turn to that NFL style offense really easily. Not surprised about that one. But your take on this one?
I'm gonna have to go the same way. I would have to go with Burrow. I think Burrow is. I feel like Justin Herbert, or it's Justin Herbert, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why that didn't sound right when I said it. But Herbert and Burrow, they're very close right now so far this season. But I think the fact that they're close shows why Burrow is better. Herbert's on a significantly better team with a significantly better roster and significantly better coaching. So I think the fact that we can even say Burrow and Herbert are moving at the same when Herbert is on a way better team who just can't find a way to close out games, I think just shows how great Burrow is. And if they get some weapons around him, or at least start using some weapons around him, like John Ross, who just hasn't played this season but is healthy, which doesn't make sense to me, and they didn't trade him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just like we get to that later. But I think Burrow is probably the better quarterback in this draft. Obviously, stats are going to be a lot closer with Herbert just because Herbert has the weapons that Burrow does not have. But I think Burrow would definitely be the better quarterback out here. And then Tua has had two pretty good games. He had a really good game last week, and the week before that, he had a decent.
His first start was but his second start was really good. That Cardinals Dolphins game was fantastic, and I really did break that one down for you guys in our Week 9 NFL recap, which you can go check out that right now. But let's get on into the midseason now, Jalen. Some midseason takeaways. We got a few things for you guys, and one of the biggest ones, of course, is who is the MVP halfway through the season, and why is it Russell Wilson?
And why is it Kyler Murray?
Yeah, no, he's close, but it's hard because it right now it's between Russell Wilson and it's between Patrick Mahomes. And the way I like this, they're two really close. I mean, Russell Wilson had the better start to the season. Now with the Jets in this last game, I mean, we've seen Patrick Mahomes, a $500 million quarterback, been putting up like 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, just some really crazy numbers. But with that, I just love what I've seen from Russell Wilson all season. Also, it doesn't help that I just feel bad that he's never even gotten a single vote. So maybe that's why it's a little like self-bias in here.
This year, I feel like he'll get a vote.
If he doesn't at least get a vote, it's just rigged against Russell Wilson.
On my bias pick first is Kyler Murray.
But your non-biased and professional pick.
Yes, my non-biased and professional pick is Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes has had a very silently great season. I think it's just the fact that we expect Patrick Mahomes to do these things has made it seem less like a great season, but I believe he only has like one interception on the year.
Only a couple.
Yeah, he only has like one or two interceptions on the year, and he's thrown for almost just as many touchdowns as Russell Wilson has, and he's winning more than Russell. No, I mean they're winning about the same rate right now. But he's looked good doing it. He's destroyed teams this year. His offense is one of the top offenses in the league yet again with all that speed and the great tight end. And then they had a great running game to start the season off. The last two weeks have been a little bit more off. With the new addition of Le'Veon Bell. I feel like they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with that.
They shouldn't do anything with him. Just keep him for third downs out of the backfield.
But they're trying to figure out what to do with that backfield with Edwards-Helaire needing a break. He can't be that workhorse like that every week. So I believe Patrick Mahomes could probably end up pulling this out. Russell Wilson is starting to struggle a little bit. It's not 100% his fault. But, when they come down to these MVP committees, they look at everything as a whole, 100%. And they're going to probably put this on him.
Also, it depends on which team is more successful ultimately, too.
Yes, I think, honestly, not even saying...
award is a team award. It's not just a single player; it's a team award.
You're not going to be on a 3-13 team and win the MVP.
Doesn't matter if you throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns.
It does not.
If you don't win, you're not getting MVP.
I think Russell Wilson's season is going to come down his play against other MVP candidate quarterbacks. Like if he, I don't know if he plays Patrick Mahomes this season. I know he plays Kyler again.
I still want to see that Seahawks Chiefs Super Bowl. I said that a couple weeks ago. That's honestly, that's still the one I want to see. That's
I want to see. My most excited game that I'm excited for again this season is the Seahawks versus Cardinals rematch.
Yep, there it is. Shock to everyone. Jalen Cardinals.
The game of the year right now is Seahawks versus Cardinals. So me wanting to see that game again is not even a Cardinals thing. That was the best game
of the year right now is
Seattle versus Cardinal in overtime.
Maybe. I think it's more of this team, Jalen, because let's get into our biggest surprises then. We're between team and player. We're going to start with team. Our biggest surprise team is who, and why is it the Cardinals again that you're talking about?
No, my biggest surprises so far this season has been the Dolphins. The more surprise.
So we agree on this then. We agree on the Dolphins.
We do agree. It's two things. The first surprise for me wasn't really like a big season surprise. It was the fact that they benched Ryan Fitzpatrick when they were doing good. Usually don't see a quarterback getting benched when the team is having a winning record and isn't playing bad. He wasn't playing bad. They came off a good week, and then he got benched over the bye week. That was a slight surprise for me. I kind of expected to sit out more of the season at least and kind of come near the end of the season or just not play until next year and get some kind of garbage time reps. Second biggest thing was the fact that the Dolphins have a winning record in the AFC East, where they are now second. Especially if we end up going to the expanded playoffs, which was announced that if any teams lose games due to COVID, now that bye weeks have begun to pass and most teams are
playoffs. I mean, I think that's the whole thing itself. If we want to talk about that real quick, I think it's so stupid. I thought it was dumb to expand to 7 teams anyway. 8 teams is going to dilute the talent. I mean, what, you want to see the Chiefs beat the number 8 seed by 50 points in the playoffs?
I don't.
Do we really
honestly
want to see that?
The 8 game I don't like. I don't need 18. That's half of each conference making it. I don't think half teams should make it.
That's 7. I feel like it's the limit right there, man.
Yeah, exactly. I think 7 is fine. 7 I like because I don't think the second seed should get a bye week. I think first seed should get a bye week. So the 7th seed was an addition that I liked because I think the second seed should have to play. I think winning your conference should be the only reason you get a bye week in the playoffs, which is why I was okay with 7 teams.
Yeah, but that's of course is besides the point. The thing with the Dolphins though is I was going to say Dolphins too. Maybe I should have gone first, so it would have sounded like you were copying off me instead of the other way around. Let's see what's written down on the agenda we actually have. But the thing is, I was like before the season, I was very high on the Dolphins. I was saying playoff team. At the most in 5 years, or at the longest in 5 years. I love what they're doing, really building well through the draft. I mean, shout out to the Texans. I covered this in our breakdown that the Texans had the 7th spot in the draft, but Bill O'Brien still lives on because that pick belongs to the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to get 2 first-round picks this year, and they're going to probably have one in the top 10 because Houston is not good, and they should just start. They should have sold the trade deadline. Besides the point, Dolphins are ahead of schedule right now. Very good team. That defense is looking really good. I think it's the top 5 NFL defense in them. That offense is not bad at all. Solid run game backed up by what could be a really good quarterback. I like the Dolphins. I like what they're doing here. I could easily see them making a 6th seed, maybe even a 5th seed in that AFC. Although the AFC is very strong, I can still see that. Now let's roll into our players, both offensive and defensive. Let's start this thing off with the offense, Jalen. And I get to go first on this one, just in case, so you don't take my pick. And that is going to be the most surprising offensive player to me this season is DK Metcalf. I mean, no one saw this dude actually being a thing out of the draft. He was highly slept on. He dropped down a few rounds, even though he was just the superhuman genetic freak back in college at Ole Miss. And now he has turned into the biggest deep threat in the NFL right now. People thought he was going to be good after his last season. He's with Russell Wilson. He's with Pete Carroll with a very dynamic offense. But who could have suspected that he's going to have pretty much a touchdown game, almost 800 yards, almost 50 catches? This dude has become a game breaker, and he's playing alongside Tyler Lockett too, which is why that offense is so damn lethal. But DK is a freak, and we've also seen his speed. Throwing back to that Cardinals game that you mentioned earlier, and he's just a freak.
The Cardinals game earlier, he only had 1 catch for 14 yards, so that's not the best.
Well, no, I'm talking about the speed where he ran.
Yeah, that was a highlight in itself. Yeah, that was a game of its own.
That's what I was talking about. No, he had a quiet game besides it, but that's his only quiet game of the season. So DK Metcalf is the most surprising offensive player so far this season.
All right, my most surprising offensive player so far this season is not the same.
I think everyone at home, real quick, just take a pause, Jalen. Just take a guess at what he's going to say. Okay.
All right.
Who is it?
My pick for the most surprising offensive player is Justin Herbert.
Oh, I thought we were going a different direction on that one.
I was going to go Kyler, even though that is very surprising. But it wasn't surprising to me, so I'm not going to say it. But Justin Herbert, coming into the draft, especially after the combine, he was seen as a quarterback who stared down his options too much, had bad decision-making. And so far this season, after he replaced Tyrod due to an accidental puncturing of the lungs.
No, he paid off the doctor.
Yeah. I did air quotes for everybody who's listening on Spotify and other
Apple Podcasts, Anchor, anywhere else you find your podcast from.
Anywhere else you can find your podcast. He's come in and been absolutely amazing. His team hasn't been able to help him too much. They've lost, I think, what was it? How many games have they lost by a combined 24 points?
They have lost they're 2-6 right now, and they've lost all 6 games by a combined total of 24 points. All of them have been one-score games. They've lost back-to-back games on the last play of the game that's gone to a official review.
Yes. Yeah.
I talked about how choked they are in our breakdown, of course.
Yes, they have been choking, but at the same time, Justin Herbert has been putting together a great offensive rookie of the year season. And I think he can continue to get better if his team can figure out somehow to finish out games and just freaking close the game out. They will be perfectly fine. I think the discussion.
Realistically, they should be 6-2 right now.
Exactly, they should be at least 6-2 right now. And it's been kind of crazy to watch it happen week in and week out. The fourth quarter, I haven't watched many Chargers games
how
live.
Bad they are at losing.
Yeah,
how good they are at losing.
It's they
really are trying to out-Falcon the Falcons.
I think the funniest headline I've seen so far this season was the Chargers find another way to lose again. And every single week they found another way to lose. I don't think they've lost the same way twice this year.
I'm more impressed than anything, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I am very impressed.
Justin Herbert has been amazing. He really has been. He's going to be a franchise quarterback.
And he'd honestly be running away with the Rookie of the Year right now if they close those 6 games out.
Better than Phillip Rivers. He's going to be a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers.
Most likely, yeah.
Defensive. Let's talk about this guy. Let's talk about a guy that was traded from the Niners last year. And now he's on another team that are contenders currently,
Hmm.
and that is going to be the Colts. DeForest Buckner. This guy has, I mean, if you want to look at the stats, it's 3 sacks, 19 tackles, a forced fumble, but it's more than the stats. The stats don't tell the full story of this guy. He's up there top five for defensive player of the year right now. It's his game-breaking ability. It's his ability to always force a pass, to be able to congest the running lanes, and to be able to cause havoc almost every play. He might not be making a sack. He might not be making a tackle, but he's been really, really good for the Colts, and that was probably one of the best acquisitions over this previous season.
Yes. All right. So now we're gonna go back to bias Jalen again.
Oh,
Uh, Most surprising defensive player this year for me has been Buda Baker.
is he
Buda
really
Baker.
surprising though? Even after
It's
that
not
huge
surprising,
contract, is he surprising?
but that contract got signed, and a lot of people were starting to call Buda Baker pretty much an extra linebacker on the field, a small linebacker. Buda Baker has now, after his I think what was it, first 50 games of his career, he had like 0 interceptions. So far this season, he has 2. Or in 2 games straight, he had 2 with great returns. 1 pick six stopped by the aforementioned DK Metcalf hawking
My favorite part
destruction.
about that video was reaction of one of the Cardinals coaches just going. His face was priceless.
Yes, but I feel like he's been underrated by a lot of people. He's not talked about, and then also the fact that 2 of the first 2 interceptions of his season came with a cast on his hand. Who knew that's what he needed to start catching the football,
check
was
the
to put a
cast,
cast
man.
on his thumb.
Put some stickum on that.
He got some stickum on his freaking cast. It's been crazy. I think this season, honestly, defenses have been lacking. I think it's been kind of a with the shortened training camp and the no preseason has really hurt defenses, as we've been able to see. We've had a lot of very high scoring games this year. We've had just a lot of offensive look really good. Even some offenses who we thought weren't going to look as good have looked amazing. Even some players who aren't that good have looked amazing, other than Tom Brady. And I just think that with all that, he has played amazing, and it hasn't been looked at that much. And then the fact that he isn't in the top 4, top 5 for the MVP defensive ranking after still performing at this high of a rate is just a reason why I find it surprising.
That's a very strong argument right there. And let's move on into next is our who is set to have the most disappointing second half. I'm going sick. We go from DeForest Buckner with the Colts, and it's going to be the Colts that will have the most disappointing second half this season. Because right now, as at the time of recording, they are currently 1 game back in the AFC South behind the Titans. They are 5-3, but they're in a good position right now. They're a playoff team right now, and they might be at the end of the season. But at the same time, they now face the 5th hardest schedule remaining in the league, with the Titans with 2 games with them. That may very well determine the division. They have to play the Packers. They have to play the Raiders, who are a little kind of sneaky good. And then they also have to play the now undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. So that may very well be 5 losses right there. I mean, that puts you at 8-8 if you do lose those 5 at the best. And that might take you out of playoff contention. They're looking good right now, but if they're not able to keep it up, especially in that competitive AFC South and in the competitive AFC in general, they are going to be booted out of the playoffs, and I do see that happening.
Yes.
Especially with Philip Rivers, the guy that is one of the unclutchest guys right now.
Yeah. I think the most disappointing second half of the season is going to be. I can't go with the team, so I'm going to go with an entire division. The NFC East is going. I don't think.
I swear that's one of the coldest takes I've ever heard on.
No. I'm going to make a big take right here.
Oh, you better redeem yourself.
I don't think any team in the NFC East is going to finish with more than 6 wins, and I think one of them is going to make the playoffs with no more than 6 wins.
We're going to see a 5-11 Eagles team, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna see a 5-11 or 6-10 Eagles team make the playoffs. At most, I give them 7 wins, but I highly doubt they get to 7 wins.
6-10 New
I,
York Giants make the
Everyone in
playoffs.
the NFC East is going to finish below 500. I don't think any of them have the ability. I think the Eagles, if either Carson Wentz could pick it up or they decide to go with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, I think they could pick it up. I think they could be the one team that does make it. But I think at least 3 out of the 4 teams in that division are going to finish with 6 or less wins. And that, I think, it's very disappointing because going to the season, Cowboys were one of the highest predicted teams to win the Super Bowl before Dak went out. Eagles were predicted to make playoffs again, which they most likely are, but as they shouldn't.
No team from that division should make the playoffs. They should just be banned this year.
And the only bright side in all of the NFC East is Chase Young. Like, that's the only bright side of the entire division. And even he's kind of died down lately.
It'd be hard to argue against that. Then finally, with our midseason stuff, let's talk about who's going to have the most surprising second half. Jalen, take this.
I think the most surprising second half of the season is going to be the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are going to make a big push. I think a lot of people are expecting them to fall off. I think Tua is just getting started. I think they finished 10-6 on the year. So I think they're gonna surprise some teams. I think they're gonna win some games that we don't expect them to win going down the stretch. It's all gonna depend on Tua. Honestly, that defense is top 5. The defense is playing how they're playing and holding people. I think they're top 5 in points allowed so far this season. So I definitely think if that defense plays it the same way they're playing and Tua plays how we played last game, I think that they could have the most surprising second half of this season.
Fair point right there. But for me, it is going to be the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, they do sit 3-5. They started off this season just god awful. They started off 1-5, which is, I don't know if you know this, Jalen, but that's not good. That's not
good at all.
They were very disappointing. Offensively, they couldn't do much. And then defensively, they're just giving them so many damn points in offensive yardage. But now, they've won back-to-back games. The first game of those 2 being against the Packers, playing a really good game against the Green Bay Packers. Of course, you had Dalvin Cook scoring 4 touchdowns, but that's besides the point. Right now, they're only 2 games out of the playoff race. They're in the NFC, especially with that 7th team. Like I said, they won 2 in a row. Dalvin Cook is a underdog, and he's a sleeper for the MVP right now. And another pride side for them is that they have the 26th hardest remaining schedule. Their only hard games right now are really a couple of games against the Bears, which are very winnable. Then you have a game against the Saints and the game against the Bucks. So right now the Vikings have the potential to be that 9-7 team, to possibly be a 10-6 team. The Vikings can be good as long as they keep on riding Dalvin Cook and as long as Kirk Cousins limits his mistakes. I think they're going, and I know that the Vikings are going to make the playoffs as a 6th or 7th seed in the NFC this year.
Fair point.
But that's what we got for the NFL, and we're going to stick a little bit with football because we unfortunately aren't able to get to too often, but we're in the midst of the NCAA football season. So let's talk a little college football, Jalen. And then right now, what we got right now, dude, is teams that are making the case for why we need a 18 playoff last season. Because right now we have a couple teams in the top 25 right now that are, or top 10. There's 7 and 8. So look at this right now. So the top 4 as it stands going to this week: Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson, Texas A&M, which is actually pretty surprising to me. They've been doing really good this year. Florida. And then the 7 to 8 teams are Cincinnati and BYU. Now, Cincinnati has been great defensively. No one saw this team coming, a non-Power 5 conference team, playing this well and being this high. And then BYU, actually, I got the chance to see them in person last week at Albertson Stadium up here in Boise, Idaho. Go Boise State. Oh, yo, dude, they got destroyed by BYU. And I felt like I traded to my school. I traded for the school newspaper that I write for. But I was saying all week that BYU is legit and BYU is going to blow out Boise State because of the quarterback situation and because of the run game. And what happened, Jalen? They blew out Boise State because
They got
of
up
the
in
quarterback
here.
situation and because of the run game. So
Yes.
I'm just going to pat myself on the back this week, but
Yes.
or right now. But what I really want to talk about is because Boise State has all the tangibles, but they also pass the eye test. They're very
Mhm.
well disciplined, very well coached defense that tackles, similar to Cincinnati. And we always hear that teams is like, especially from the fan bases, oh, they can remember the whole UCF stuff where when
Mhm.
they went undefeated, they were saying they were national champs. They even had the parade and the rings and all that fun stuff.
Yes, they did. Yep.
The easiest way to put, and there's a debate of whether these teams can hang or not. I believe BYU can. I believe Cincinnati can. You want to know how we end this debate, Jalen?
How?
18 playoff and actually
Yep.
do it. And if they get blown out, then point proven, they don't belong. We should stick with that 4 team. But if they do compete and if they do make some waves, that 8 team is going to be good. And also, I mean, ultimately, we're going to have extra playoff games. Everyone's going to be making more money. Everyone's going to
Yeah.
be happy. We all know the NCAA doesn't care about the athletes. They just want to make more money. This is what's going to do it for them.
I think I agree. We should have 18 playoff. I think we should do 2 seasons of it. I think we should do this year and next year 18 playoff. This year is weird, obviously with COVID. A lot of teams are starting late or not playing, or weird stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we should have it this year. Obviously, if some team like BYU or Cincinnati makes it and they get blown out, we should give it another year, because hopefully next year is going to be more of a regular season. And the top 8 teams will probably be more competitive if this season is not competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see how it actually will look with the full regular season of football. And just to see how that would go. Because honestly, BYU and Cincinnati are having amazing seasons, and I think they deserve to be up there. But at the same time, when you have conferences like the Pac-12 just now starting football, where most teams are either 1-0 or 0-1, it's hard to just be like, yeah, they're a guaranteed 8 seed. Because if everyone played regular, I think they would be probably in like they'd be in the top 20, but they'd be a lot farther back. So I just think we need to give it some time, probably 2 seasons, and just see what happens.
And the problem is, like, especially for BYU or Cincinnati, non-Power 5 conference team, you can go undefeated. It doesn't matter who you play. You're not going to make the playoffs in the eyes of the selection committee. BYU, you're not even a conference team, which is, I would argue, worse than being a non-Power 5 conference team. And you can go undefeated. You can beat all the good teams by a lot of points that you play on your record, and you're not going to make the playoffs. At the least,
True.
we can get a consolation prize, Jalen, of maybe a New Year's Bowl between Cincinnati and BYU, see who's better of them. But if you look at the common denominators of the top 6, you see SEC, ACC, Big Ten, ACC, SEC, SEC. I think there's a pattern there.
Just a slight
I think
pattern.
there's a pattern there. And let's look at the other selections like that we've seen in the playoffs in the past. You cannot tell me that there is not a bias towards at least Power 5 teams, let alone SEC, ACC, Big Ten. And then the next question I want to pose to you, Jalen, if we want to stay on the topic of the SEC, LSU has had an extremely disappointing season this year. Luckily, they're not going to get blown out by Alabama this week because their game got postponed because of all the fun stuff happening this season. But they've gotten to the point where they're not even focused about Alabama. They're focused about themselves, Jalen. And so I'm going to ask you the question. Is Coach O overrated?
Is Coach O overrated?
Is he overrated?
I don't think he's overrated. I feel like that's hard to say. Is Coach O overrated? It's kind of, teams have off seasons. Coaches have off seasons. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's doing just fine. I think we have to give him a little bit more time, especially with, like I said, this is a weird season. You can't just go and be like, this team is terrible because of this season. This season is weird for everybody. It's weird from Pee Wee football all the way up to NFL football. This has been a weird season. I'm not going to hold anybody who is just having an off season I won't put it too hard on them. Like, obviously, like coaches like Harbaugh, who's been just having bad season after bad season, that's on them.
Boy.
They're on the same.
Is something else this season.
If you're consistently bad and you had another bad year, that is on you. But if you're consistently good or decent, and then all of a sudden this year, just out of nowhere, you're losing players to COVID. You couldn't get the right players because of COVID. Players are getting sick because of COVID. You can't train anyone because of COVID. You can't really put your full game plan and full program how you want it. So I can't really judge them yet.
I don't think they'll be good even if it was a normal season. I think that Joe Burrow really helped Coach O out. I mean, if you want to look at his coaching career, let's run through like from 2005 through 2007 when he was with Ole Miss. 3-8, 4-8, 3-9. He was with UFC in 2013. 6-2. LSU from 16 to 20 now. Another 6-2. Then he started to improve with 9-4. We saw a solid 10-3. Then he went undefeated with 15-0. That was of course because he had his quarterback had the greatest college football season of all time. That offensive line was great. Those wide receivers were great. That defense was remarkable. And then now he's dropped back to 2-3. And before he had Joe Burrow, he only had about a .55 winning percentage. And to me, that's not ideal. I'm not going to say he's a bad coach. I may not say he's overrated, but I am willing to say that as of right now, last season was an anomaly in that he normally is not going to be able to produce those undefeated teams.
I think, for me, if we were talking about NFL teams, I'd be right there with you saying that he's probably not the best coach. But when it comes to college football, when you have great players, you can be a good coach, and just because of the good player, because you have to recruit in college football. People are not just coming to your program just to come to your program. If you had Hitler as the coach at LSU, no one would go to LSU.
I think that's an extreme example, but I understand where you're going with YouTube.
Yes.
Please don't kick us off.
Don't take us down. But what I'm saying is you have to have a personality and be a good person.
He was obviously just referring to a 1940s era painter from Prussia.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is you have to be a good coach. People are not going to come play for you if they do not like you. That's all I'm saying. Like it's just not going to happen.
Hey, people love Odron though. I love him as a coach though. I love him.
And also you have to think there are a lot of guy. They, like we said last season, they had Joe Burrow. They had all these great players on defense, all these great players on offense, and they did great. But then all those players went to the draft. So now you have a bunch of young players who most of them didn't even play last year, or even some of the people. Like you also have to look at the people who opted out of the season that played for LSU who aren't playing this year. People who weren't even expecting to play this year are playing this year for that team. And it's like I said, it's just been a really messed up year. And it's hard to be like, Coach O is bad because he has all these great players coming specifically to play for him. I'm not like, I don't care how good of a person you are, but like you could be a great person, but if you can't coach, then I can't play with you. But at the same time, if you're a great coach but an asshole, I can't play for you. You have to have a nice middle ground for people to want to play with you. So it's hard for me to say he is a bad coach because he usually wins. This season he lost a good amount of players to the draft and to people who just wanted to sit the season out because of COVID. So this season I cannot judge him because he lost a lot, and he's working with what he has, and obviously he's not doing too great, but he can still make it out. So
I'm not going to call him a bad coach. I'm hesitant to call him overrated at this point, but last year was a little bit iffy. Might be an outlier. Guess we'll see once hopefully things get back to normal next season.
Yes.
Now, Jalen, let's transition into a little bit of our NBA stuff because there's been some interesting topics that have made headlines over the past couple days. But one of the most important ones being that Russell Wilson wants out of Houston. And who the hell could have seen this coming? You mean that guys like Wilson and Harden and CP3 can't play together?
Mm-hmm.
Are we surprised by this?
Oh my goodness!
Are we surprised?
No, not at all. I think that the Houston atmosphere has been bad for a while, and a lot of people have been blaming the players there, like when CP3 was there, as the problem. I don't think it's the problem at all. I think Houston's atmosphere and environment and coaching needs a change. Obviously, it's getting a change, but I think right now with Harden is also wanting out right now, as reports are saying. They're saying Harden wants out and Westbrook wants
So
out.
I
So
think
I don't.
Harden still is committed to being a Rocket, but
Hmm.
it's the other people. I think Harden's going to stay there. But
Yes, I think most likely Harden stays, but at the same time, he does have destinations he would prefer
oh,
over being in
100%.
Houston. So what I'm saying is that when Russell's saying he wants to leave and Harden's still saying he wants to leave, I don't think it's the fact that they don't like each other. Because both of them want to leave. One of them obviously want to stay if it's a great team, just that one dude, but he wants to leave. So I
I
think
wonder
that
if they don't trust in their new guy, Steven Silas,
I
the
mean,
guy
yeah,
that's. Do they
it's
not
yet to
trust
be
in him?
seen, obviously,
I
yet
didn't
with
have
everything
much
being moved
trust in
around.
Mike D'Antoni anyway.
Yeah,
He was
that's
in
true.
over his head with the Houston Rockets.
Very true. I think they had a lot of talent, but his
Imagine if the
coaching was not
Rockets
able
had Greg Popovich as their coach.
to. That'd be nice. Now
That'd be
that
gross.
worked
That'd
out,
be disgusting.
they might
Way too
have a
good.
title right now.
Oh
But
no, they would have a title right now. I guarantee that.
I think it's just they need to check the environment over there, see what the problem is. Obviously, Dan and Tony is gone, so obviously it's not him. So something's wrong over
So
there.
where's Westbrook going to go though? Is a question.
I think
To me, he has to be traded. He's not a free agent, so he's going to be traded.
no.
It might be tough though to trade him just because everything kind of going around with this. But I can see, might not limit to a team, but Russell Westbrook will end up in New York for next season.
That is, I feel like at this point, if they don't get Russell, I feel like for the past 3 seasons we've been making all these great, like,
I
oh,
know.
the Knicks are all in on Durant. Oh, the Knicks are all in on getting Zion, and then it just doesn't happen. They don't get
The
anyone.
Knicks is just disappointing. I think it is
They're disappointing.
our kind of conclusion. But we've been knowing
Yes,
this.
I think that they're going to fail again and not get it. I think they're going to
So the
push,
Nets.
and then the Nets get them. I have 3 teams. I think the Pelicans might make a push for them. They have a lot of depth and young players that they can move over to Houston. I think they would. I think him and Zion would be a great combo to put together. Second, I do also have. Why am I just blanking on who I was going to say? I totally just blanked on my other team.
It's okay, Dylan, because it's all good. You're a little rusty coming back. But
Yes,
then
yes.
also on this too, another kind of trade rumor, a guy that used to be on the Rockets is CP3. Of course,
Yes.
he was on LA, and we saw how well that Clippers team worked this postseason. And now there's some rumors that he could be on the move. Might be staying there in little the southwest portion of the states. Could CP3 potentially be going to Phoenix? And what would the Suns look like? A reminder: they went 8-0 in the bubble to
Yes.
finish off the regular season, and they're building a good young team down there. So what would CP3 do to that team?
I think it'd be good, especially for Booker. Booker would need that kind of facilitator, passer to go. Obviously, he has Rubio up there right now. I think they would end up having to trade Rubio in that trade to get CP3. I think I think it'd probably end up being like a Rubio in a draft pick, or like I think Rubio is going to be part of it, and I think Kelly Oubre might be a big part of it. I think you'd have to give up one of those guys, if not both of them, to get CP3. CP3 is getting older, but at the same time, he proved last season that he is no pushover at this point in his career. But I think it'll work.
The lack of success in the playoffs because of him. I blame Kawhi way more.
You're
just
thinking
did
of
not show up.
no. You're thinking of PG.
Oh yeah,
Good.
thank you, PG. Of course,
Yes.
excuse me. Yeah, I'm not gonna blame PG as much. I'm gonna blame Kawhi for that one. He didn't do jack that postseason.
Yeah, but CP3 was on OKC
Yeah.
last season.
Yes.
He was. He hasn't been on the Clippers for a minute now.
He has not.
We're both. We haven't talked about NBA in a minute, so I'll give Ross a pass.
Appreciate that.
On that one. But CP3 and OKC, they had a pretty good push. They did good. They just couldn't finish through. They had a lot of young talent that I think they're going to be a great team at some point. But just you can see the inexperience, and CP3's experience wasn't enough to push that team through. I think they'll definitely pick it up. I think they'll have a better chance. But I think they kind of need to go with that young team. They need to get rid of CP3 and try to see if they can get some of
Mm-hmm.
the Suns' young talent to them and try to just build off that and just kind of play the run and gun type of offense, just sprinting, fast break style offense.
Man, I
And I think
would
they can make it
like to
work.
see that offense with CP3, Booker. You have Obre out there too. That would be
Yeah,
that
Kelly
would be
Oubre,
fun.
that'd be nice. That'd be a great offense. Hopefully, they don't have to give him up in the trade for
Mm-hmm.
CP3. I think if I'm OKC, I'm asking for Kelly Oubre in the trade. That's just me. I would
So,
ask for Kelly Oubre.
I mean, at least the Suns might be able to keep Ricky Rubio from this stuff.
Yeah, they're gonna have to give one of them. And honestly, in my 100% opinion, unless they're just giving up their draft pick,
Mm-hmm.
and they think that's enough, which I don't think OKC
You think
will
Ubre's
think that's
out?
enough. I think Oubre or Rubio, one of them is getting moved.
Mm,
I don't think they find a way to keep both of them in the trade for CP3.
very fair. But if you want to keep on the topic of the Suns real quick, there has been a couple of very new, nice. I honestly, I really do like both of these new jerseys. But we've seen both the Suns and the Philadelphia 76ers get some very nice black jerseys, Jalen. And then
Mm-hmm.
the question is, I pose to you, which one do you like more?
I mean that Suns jersey
It's nice,
is
right?
real
It's
is
not.
really nice. I really like the look of that one. That one was really nice. 76ers one I was kind of iffy about. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how I feel about like the whole kind of city kind of skyline in the Jersey with the houses and stuff all lit up. To me, I do like
yeah,
that little touch of the. You can see like in the little design, you see a TTP for trusted process. So I thought that was. I love when teams do those kind of little nods in the logos and stuff like that.
yeah. I think it'd be funny if they did the trusted process and traded Embiid. That'd be pretty funny.
That'd be
I
the
think
most 76ers thing ever.
that'd be freaking awesome. Like when they said that they were gonna entrust in Jimmy Butler for the future, and
Shout out
he's no longer
Jimmy
on the
Butler
team.
for being able to kill in the
Shout out to
playoffs.
Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I think the Sun uniform is just honestly, it represents their city and them better than that jersey for the 76ers.
I gotta
So
say,
I
like that the between because you can kind of see the sunset right there. You go from the yellow
yeah,
to the orange to the red to the
yeah,
purple, and it just looks better. It
it just
reminds me of
does.
their like older black jerseys too, which are
Hmm.
very nice. But all I'm saying
Very
is
nice.
they might need to do a little something more with that orange. I think, but their orange
The
jerseys are
orange
nice.
would be nice
But
too.
at the end of the discussion, Suns have the Valley. That is a better jersey with this one. Let's move on to our MLB stuff now, Jalen. So quick stuff here, just talking a couple manager acquisitions. With the Red Sox deciding to bring back Alex Cora. And when I saw that they were going to do this, I knew that it was a mistake because he's not going to do anything. Of course, he did help them lead them to a World Series victory in 2018. But the thing is that was a completely different Boston Red Sox team. They don't even have one of the best players in the MLB right now. We saw him prove that for the Dodgers. Mookie Betts. They don't have David Price anymore. They suffered a
Hmm.
bunch of injuries last year, especially with Chris Sale. And also, I still hate Alex Cora for being the cheating scumbag he was when he was with the Houston Astros, and he deserves nothing
Hmm.
good.
This is very true. I hope nothing but the worst for him.
Yep, yep, yep.
In the world of baseball, obviously, I'm not going to go as far as his
We're not going
personal.
personal here
Yes, but
yet.
in the world of baseball, I hope he has a losing record for the rest of his career.
Oh,
Um,
162.
yes, the first team to do it. I want to see it.
That'd be
Uh,
absolutely remarkable if a team in baseball could actually lose every game.
yeah, that'd be pretty bad.
I'd be more impressed than anything.
Yeah, me too. That'd be. I'd be like, wow, you really just can't play baseball. Like,
Right? You can't even get
but
lucky in 162 games.
yeah, like what the heck? I don't think it's a good idea. Just like you said, it's not the same. The division is completely different. The talent needed and stuff like that they don't have, unless you really think that he's just going to be the guy that just brings players together in a non-cheating way. Uh,
We've
I
yet
still
to see him do that.
we've yet to see it happen yet, but I don't think he's the answer. I
Also,
think
the
they should have
thing
gone for
is
something new.
that the AL East, almost the AFC, forgive me. That AL East is just a totally different playing field now, especially with
Mm-hmm.
the Rays, man. The Tampa Bay Rays are really good 2 seasons ago, made that really good wild card team, and now of
Yes.
course they're a playoff team, and they got close to winning it. They made 6 games in that.
Mm-hmm.
The Rays are really good. It looks like the Toronto Blue Jays are starting to gather some really good young talent there. They're building a good team. And then the Yankees are the Yankees, and there's nothing new to report there than hell. Even the Miami
Yeah.
Marlins. The Miami Marlins.
Are pretty good.
Oh, dude, that's it really is something. But Alex Cora, I don't see anything with that. Then also the next managerial acquisition with the White Sox bringing back Tony La Russa. He previously managed them, I believe, as 34 years ago. Only a few decades. But
Only
now
a
they
few.
bring in a 76-year-old with DUI problems.
So take his license away and Uber him to practice is what I'm hearing.
Dude, he's 76. He should be driving anyway.
Yeah, you should have gave that up a long time ago,
I
boss.
don't like this. I don't think the players like this. It doesn't. I don't know why management like this. He's a Hall of Fame manager. Okay, so
Yes.
obviously he's really good. He's legendary. But at the same time, he's not good. The White Sox are a really good and talented team. They played really well last season, exceeded a lot of expectations. But the thing with that, I mean, yeah, Jose Abreu won MVP too, so he was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But now Tony La Russa is not good for the modern game of baseball.
No.
He's not good. And also, I just don't see him more having that impact on the locker room that he's going to have. No one is the players. You have to have someone that's at least decently relatable. None of those
Yeah.
players, that very young team, is going to be able
That's
to
I
relate.
feel like
and
that's a
it's going to
big
be-
part of
It's
the
not going to
game
be
right.
coachable,
Yeah, it's like I feel like a lot of people don't realize that now today in modern sports with the athletes, one of their big things is relationships with their coaches and being relatable to their coaches and coaches being relatable to them. And so when you bring in a 76-year-old guy to kind of manage this team, it just doesn't usually go well. Older guys can come in with a different attitude towards the sport than the younger guys do, and they usually don't connect well. I mean, obviously I could be wrong. They could turn out perfectly fine, but it's just
unlikely.
in history, especially recent history, not the younger coach, but the more younger than 76 coach usually has a better effect on teams coming in.
See, there's a couple different things that go into having a good coach. Jalen, we all know this. We're all athletes. A lot of you guys that listen to the show are athletes, so you've all dealt with this. Is that a coach has to be two things. They have to be a good coach, first of all, but also you could be the best coach in the world, but if you don't have the chemistry with your players and your other staff, none of your coaching talent matters. Relationships and chemistry play a huge role. Like we see, like you want to relate to power teams, like you see teams like the old Houston Rockets, really good players, or like let's talk about Kobe and Shaq if you really want to throw it back a little bit. Two of the most dominant players in NBA history, and although they were good, they didn't have the chemistry, so they weren't as good as they could have been. So
Yeah, I mean
that's
they were
kinda
still
what I
pretty
see.
great though.
Well, they were.
I think it's kind of like
Imagine if they actually got along.
they would have won by even more.
That's scary. That's scary.
But I think it's kind of like right now we could look at a modern day situation. Harbaugh in Michigan's team over in college football.
Well, now it's hard to even argue if he's a good coach.
I know it's hard, but with his resume, I'm gonna say he's still a good coach. But he does not have the right attitude and personality for young college students to push them to win. He does great with NFL players, but when it comes to college students, it doesn't go well. And like when you have for instance, just throwing like a wild thing out there, this has nothing to do direct to anybody. Like if you put a golf coach to coach a football team, it just doesn't go well sometimes. Like there's just not enough chemistry there.
Once again, Jalen with another stretch of a little metaphor right there. But
I mean, it wasn't a stretch. Our high school football coach was a golf coach.
Oh yeah, but that was. Luckily, that's in the past. I do not want to talk about bringing on a golf coach to be our football coach. That did not go well. Obviously, we could have been a lot better, but that's in the past. No need to hang on.
Stretch
No
it.
need to be
That's
that
real
guy
life.
that peaked in high school and only talks about his high school football days, because those are even worse, and we all know those people. Trust me, we all know
We
one
all
at
know
least.
one.
But
At
let's
least one.
at least one. Let's finish things though with some UFC news. If you've been keeping up with us recently with our UFC talk episodes with our UFC correspondent Blake Campbell, I say UFC a lot there in that sentence. UFC. There's a lot going on in the MMA world, and now the biggest scene, Jalen. UFC Vegas 14 is up this weekend, and I just gotta say, Paul Felder is an absolute badass. Give him the BMF
Monster.
belt because he is a bad MFer. 5 days notice to step up against a guy, former champion contender, still a really good fighter in Rafael Dos Anjos in that lightweight division. And he's stepping on 5 days notice. He's stepping into a 5-round main event fight. That is really badass.
Yeah, it is. I think he has a good chance of winning this fight, honestly, just based off of his fighting style. And obviously, Dos Santos has been around for a long time, so it's not like there's a lack of
Paul
tape to
Felder's
look
still
at.
a great fight. I mean, remember his last fight a while ago, it feels like, when he fought Dan Hooker. And most people thought, and me included, that Paul Felder won that fight.
I do too. I do
still
think
do.
he won that fight. I still think he won that fight. I think that was cheating. But
I wouldn't say cheating. I would just say little thievery. A little thievery.
a little deep
Judges are
sea,
stupid again.
little snitch snatch. But I think Paul Felder has a good chance to win this. In my opinion, thinking about the fight in general and the media that's been going on with it, I kind of think that Dos Anjos is kind of looking past Paul Felder and just thinking about how he's going to dismantle the entire lightweight division. And I think you doing that when there's a tough opponent like Paul Felder in front of you kind of shows you're not really taking him too seriously, especially because it's 5 days notice. But we know these fighters stay ready year round just in case a chance like this happens.
Paul Felder, more of anyone, he's been training for a freaking triathlon right now. So he's in phenomenal shape.
Exactly. They just have, honestly, if his coaches get a good game plan together, just go in there, he'll be fine. So I think Dos Santos, and he's stopped worrying about his unfinished business with Connor and the open top half of the division, because he's not even in the open top half of the division. So you can't really be talking about the top half of the division. Is he even ranked right now in the top 15?
He's up there, but he's Paul. I actually like Paul Felder more anyway. Even with the 5 days notice, I think Paul Felder is still a really good fighter.
I think he takes him out. Yeah.
I would not Paul Felder by knockout due to spinning back fist.
I really want Paul Felder to win because I want him to get up there to where he can fight Connor and they could both fight in Ireland when we actually are allowed to have audiences back.
That would be Jalen. We can't have that. That'd be too perfect, and we're sports fans, so we don't deserve anything that good. But realistically, this is going to be a matchup of the mustaches. And Rafael Dos Anjos has a great stash. Paul Felder has been growing out his stash recently too. It looks phenomenal. And I just gotta say, speaking about how I've already said he's badass, but Paul Felder in the span of 2 months goes from commentator to cornerman to fighter. That is versatile as hell.
I really hope he commentates the first half and then just leaves right before his fight. It'd be awesome.
I wish.
Or even better, one step above, he keeps the headset on during his fight and commentates as he's whooping Dos Santos.
we get to listen to him straight up during in between rounds. He would just be too damn amazing. And then to end things off, though, Jalen, let's talk about this. November 12th is a huge and probably the most important date on the calendar year for the UFC. And it's funny that we actually get to record on 11/12 very well, because three things, or at least three things, happen on this date in UFC history. UFC 1 took place in 1993 in Denver, and of course, that changed MMA across the world forever. Shout out to Dana White, because there's a whole mess in getting that card together. Gotta love all the kind of rules and laws against fights. Apparently, cage fighting is deemed too controversial and too scary, too dangerous, and stupid politicians get into sports. I digress, though.
Yes.
That date changed history. Then we also had UFC on Fox 1 in 2011. And of course, Fox wasn't ESPN, but this was really the UFC's first time getting on anything close to mainstream television. And that was huge in the catalyst for that sport. And of course, that was the first fight of the trilogy between Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos, which ended up being one of the better trilogies in UFC history.
Yes.
And then the most recent event was back in 2016. Damn, this was already 4 years ago, when UFC 205 happened, and their first card in Madison Square Garden. And this, of course, was when Conor McGregor became the first double champ in UFC history with his knockout in the second round over Eddie Alvarez.
And we also can't forget about the amazing speech he gave after the fight, apologizing to absolutely no one.
One of the greatest videos and memes of all time.
Yep. What the double champ does what he wants.
How does this all happen on one day? And of course, shout out to also the birthday of the current BMF, Jorge Masvidal too. It's a great day in UFC, man. It really is. And a happy birthday wish to Jorge Masvidal is, of course, hashtag super necessary.
Super necessary.
So what do you think he had for his birthday dinner? Maybe a 2-piece and soda?
McDonald's. A large pizza all to himself. Well, and then he probably walked outside and slapped somebody and then walked back inside just because he's just who he is as a person. He just slapped somebody for dessert. You know what I'm saying? 2-piece and a soda. He probably flew out, saw Leon Edwards, slapped him up a couple of times, and ran back.
Man, it really is remarkable. Thank you, UFC, because you're one of the greatest sports in the world. And Dana White, you are the absolute man. But that's going to wrap up. One more thing.
Oh, saying Dana White's number one.
Dana White's number one. Okay, there we go. But of course, that's going to wrap it for us now, guys. Make sure to check out newest drops on today, 11/12, another big one. Of course, we had for our AFL footy fans, love that sport, absolutely amazing. If you haven't listened to our stuff, you should now, because it is a sport that you need to watch. We have our footy is underrated merch. We've had our shirt and tank top out, and now we just put out a hoodie. Of course, if you're watching on video, you can see me repping this merch right now, our Fourth and Long premium hoodie. We also have a crew neck. We have a long sleeve out because it's getting cold. Even back where you're in California, Jalen, it's still getting a little bit chilly.
Freaking freezing.
I mean, you're freezing nowhere near ours. I love the snow so far.
No, not even close.
And
it's only like 38 degrees.
That I walk outside in a t-shirt in 30 degrees. But these, honestly, I gotta say that this t-shirt between like our tri-blend t-shirts are amazing. This sweatshirt, if you see on video, it has like the felt inside, and it's so damn soft. I stay so warm in this.
If you have a girlfriend, which I'm guessing if you listen to the show, you don't.
She'll like the host.
She'll fill that sweater.
For anything like the host, man.
If you're like the co-host, you're all cuddled up right now.
Even the UFC correspondent. The one person part of the show that actually has a relationship is our fabulous AFL correspondent, Coach Donnie. Yes, he's a happily married man. So congrats to you, Coach Donnie.
Yeah, at some point we're gonna have a relationship advice show with Coach Donnie. He's gonna give us advice on how to have a successful relationship.
Make sure to check us out everywhere. Our website, of course, www.thefourthandlong.com. You can check us out on most of our interaction is on Twitter at Fourth Long Radio, Instagram at Fourth and Long Radio. So some great stuff there. Check out our most recent interviews. We've had big guys like Josh Emmett. We've had Joey Rodriguez. Most recently, we had UFC May's debut back in June. Justin James. We've had guys like NFL players, Marcus Rios. We've had XFL guys. We've covered almost everything, and we will be having another college player on soon.
Very soon.
So very soon. Keep an eye out for that. But that's going to do it for us. Find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, YouTube, pretty much anywhere. Let us know what you guys think.
We're everywhere.
Leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. Reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts of all the discussions and debates we had tonight. But with that being said, we will catch you guys in the next one.